A medieval kingdom confronts a succession crisis as the king and queen lack male heirs. Their eldest daughter, the princess, aspires to challenge societal norms by demonstrating her capability as a formidable leader. She engages in rigorous training in both hand-to-hand combat and weaponry under the guidance of the castle's master-at-arms. Additionally, Lynn, the princess, immerses herself in the study of philosophy and politics to prepare for her future role as a ruler. However, the traditionalist king insists that his daughter adhere to conventional expectations, emphasizing her duties as a wife and mother. He is determined to see a male successor ascend the throne after him and arranges for the princess to marry Julius, the sole heir of a distinguished royal diplomat. The arrangement seems settled, as Julius, known for his ruthless prowess in battle, is poised to inherit the crown following their engagement. Yet, on the day of the wedding ceremony, the princess boldly refuses the union. 2 days later, she awakens in a chamber, her head throbbing painfully. Clad in a wedding gown and bound by chains, she begins to recall fragmented memories of the previous night, when armed men invaded her room and forced a strange, sedative liquid upon her. Regaining her composure, the princess searches for an escape route. The window is ajar, but it opens to a perilous drop into the sea below. Just as she prepares to investigate the door, she hears footsteps approaching. Quickly, she returns to her bed and feigns sleep. Moments later, 2 burly men enter, their intentions clearly malicious. One leans in menacingly, prompting her to suddenly awaken and headbutt him. What a fortunate day! What do we have here? In a swift motion, the princess springs from her bed and manages to free one hand from the chain by dislocating her thumb. The princess seizes the chain and strikes one of the men in the face. Continuing her assault, she thrusts her hairpin into the eye of her assailant. With this, she has effectively eliminated one of the 2 intruders. The remaining man charges forward, frantically attempting to seize the princess. She skillfully guides him toward the window and ultimately pushes him down the tower. Before the princess can regain her composure, she hears footsteps approaching the room. Quickly, she seizes a heavy hammer from a nearby surface and conceals herself behind the door. When it swings open, she strikes the thug who had come to check on his companions. Afterward, she manages to free herself from her shackles and arranges the fallen soldiers' bodies to create the illusion of vigilance. Following this, the princess escapes to the nearest bathroom, peering out the window to evaluate the situation. What she sees is alarming. Her family is bound in the courtyard below. Julius soon arrives with his loyal guard and consort, Moira. The king seizes the moment to argue that Julius's father, a diplomat, would disapprove of his violent methods, but Julius dismisses this, viewing both his father and the king as weak pacifists. He further accuses the king of undermining their traditions by welcoming outsiders instead of conquering them. The king counters that fear alone cannot sustain a ruler, yet Julius maintains that the people desire a strong leader on the throne. The invader then commands his soldiers to take the royal family to the dungeons located several meters above. From her hiding place in the bathroom, the princess witnesses these events unfold. She reflects on the past 2 days when she rejected Julius's marriage proposal, a decision that precipitated the invasion of her kingdom and now endangered her parents. Her thoughts are abruptly interrupted by the entrance of a soldier into the bathroom. She swiftly hides in a nearby bathtub, submerging herself completely. Fortunately, the soldier, wearing a helmet, fails to notice the bubbles rising to the surface. Once he departs, the princess emerges from the water, tears her wet dress, and makes her escape. She stealthily moves through the area. In the corridors, she skillfully evades enemy soldiers by attuning herself to the sound of their footsteps. Everything appears to be going smoothly until a large, imposing soldier clad in an iron helmet seizes her by the neck. The princess fights back, throwing punches at his arm, but her efforts are futile against his formidable stature. Demonstrating her remarkable tactical acumen, she strikes both hands against his helmet, causing it to resonate painfully, which compels him to release her grip. Seizing the moment, she delivers a swift kick to his groin, another display of her combat intelligence, but it has no effect, as he is impervious to such attacks. The soldier retaliates by grasping her neck once more, but she cleverly drives his helmet against the wall to break free. He charges at her like a bull, prompting the princess to scale the wall and land on his shoulder. With a deft twist of the helmet, she temporarily blinds him. As he attempts to slam her against the wall, she manages to take his helmet and safely dismount. In a final act of defiance, she stabs him with the helmet's horns before striking it against his head, ultimately ending his life. After this brutal confrontation, the princess pauses to catch her breath and is flooded with memories of her mentor, Lin. She recalls Lin's teachings about the essence of true warrior spirit, fighting for a noble cause. During their training, the queen had voiced her concerns, suggesting that Lin should focus on teaching the princess etiquette rather than combat. Lin, however, firmly believed that a lady should master both grace and martial skills. Back in the present, a contingent of soldiers arrives, carrying the body of the man the princess had previously dispatched from the castle's tower. This sight alarms Julius, prompting him to instruct his lieutenant, Kerr, to check on the princess. Before approaching the castle gate, C instructs another soldier, a portly, sluggish, and inconspicuous man, to carry out the task. Meanwhile, the princess has concealed herself in the knitting room of the tower. She tears her bridal gown to enhance her mobility and tends to her wounds when two soldiers unexpectedly arrive. A fierce confrontation breaks out, during which the princess swiftly stabs one of the attackers. She then tears a piece of lace from her gown to restrain the other soldier. With determination, she grabs a crossbow and demands to know what Julius has done to her family. When the soldier doubts her ability to use the weapon, she turns and shoots his companion in the chest. Despite this, the soldier continues to taunt her, prompting her to fire an arrow into his skull. Seizing the fallen soldier's sword, the princess exits the knitting room. She descends the stairs and soon discovers a narrow secret passage concealed behind the thick walls of the dining hall. Peering through a small opening, she observes several mercenaries busily looting treasures. As most of them are intoxicated and preoccupied, the princess skillfully slips into the dining room. She carefully navigates around them and reaches another hidden passage at the far end. Ultimately, she arrives at her bedroom, where she has concealed a special sword. A flashback reveals her training sessions with Lin, who consistently emphasized a vital lesson: to fight with one's heart. L.Y. and the king's personal advisor, Kai, also. He assisted in training the princess, fully aware that she would eventually grow into a courageous and noble warrior. In recognition of her potential, he gifted her a family heirloom, a stunning short sword with an indestructible blade. Filled with renewed resolve, the princess retrieved her equipment from beneath the bed and made her way back to the hidden passage. As she descended the stairs, she unexpectedly overheard Julius and Moira discussing wedding arrangements. Moira questioned why Julius could not ascend to the throne, to which he responded that no one could challenge his claim if he followed the traditional route of marriage, even if it was coerced. Consumed by jealousy, the consort kissed Julius, and they began to embrace passionately. Concealed behind a wall, the princess positioned herself to strike Julius through a small opening. However, her intentions were thwarted when a soldier interrupted, announcing that the king wished to speak with Julius. "What did I tell you about interrupting my nookie?" Shortly after, the invaders confronted the king, who cautioned Julius that claiming the crown would be perceived as treason by the public. Julius, however, insisted that the wedding did not constitute treason. Meanwhile, the princess crawled out from a vent, finding herself beneath a suit of knight's armor. She dismissed it as mere decoration. Her assumption proved incorrect when the knight sprang to life and attempted to stab her. With quick reflexes, she evaded his strikes while managing to counterattack. The knight's armor proves impervious to any weapon the princess can wield, leaving her in a predicament. However, she quickly devises a clever strategy, targeting the armor's vulnerable spots. She pours oil from a lamp onto him, followed by a candle, igniting the heavy metal and trapping the knight in flames. In a frantic attempt to escape, he leaps through a nearby window, landing in the courtyard below. Witnessing this, Moira, now exasperated by the knight's failures, uses her whip to strike at his throat. She then takes charge of Juliai's army, commanding her soldiers to search every level of the castle tower meticulously. Shortly thereafter, the princess finds herself surrounded by a throng of men rushing up the tower. In a moment of quick thinking, she tears off her necklace and scatters the beads to trip her foes. The young royal then uses their shields as stepping stones to make her escape. However, the sheer number of enemies proves overwhelming. She swiftly assesses her surroundings and formulates an escape plan. The princess leaps from a nearby window, grasping a tapestry, and swings into a room on the opposite side of the tower. As she tends to her injuries, someone enters the room and discovers her. Fortunately, it is Lin, the castle's master-at-arms and the princess's personal mentor. Lin quickly attends to her wounds and informs her that her family is imprisoned in the dungeons. The two of them proceed to the tower's basement, passing through the kitchen. Unfortunately, they find themselves trapped by 3 unruly and highly dangerous mercenaries. The princess engages 2 of the assailants while Lin confronts the largest one. The master-at-arms swiftly overpowers her opponent and then joins the princess to tackle the remaining threats. Together, they quickly eliminate one of the mercenaries, but just as the third man lunges at the princess, Moira arrives. A fierce and relentless combatant, she wields a specialized whip with great skill. Without hesitation, she strikes at Lin, who deflects the blow with her arm. The princess rushes to assist her mentor, but Moira's speed proves overwhelming, leaving the young girl in a precarious position. Lin guides the princess toward the sewers, choosing to stay behind to fend off Moira. The princess crawls into the sewers and soon finds herself in the dungeon, where she encounters 3 inebriated guards. Is that the princess? It takes little effort for her to subdue the guards. The princess swiftly knocks them down and seizes a sword, defeating them all while her family looks on with pride. She manages to free her parents and younger sister, Violet. However, just as they prepare to escape, someone knocks the princess unconscious. Later, she awakens in the G-Hall below, discovering her family and Lin shackled. Julia reprimands her for the chaos she caused, but the princess retaliates by biting his hand. In a fit of rage, Julia slaps her and emphasizes that she was destined to be his wife. With a foreboding tone, she expresses her anticipation for their marriage, warning him that once they are wed, he will need to sleep with one eye open, as she will be plotting his demise day and night. Julius soon realizes his error in judgment, as he discovers that the princess is beyond his control. Consequently, he decides to marry Violet instead and commands Moira to eliminate the princess. Fortunately, the princess manages to kick a guard's sword, halting Moira's advance. Seizing this moment, Lin escapes with Violet through a hidden passage. In a dramatic turn of events, a soldier throws the princess out of a window, plunging her into the sea below. As she descends, memories of her training and the doubts cast on her strength flood her mind. Recalling Julius's intentions toward her younger sister, she steels herself and uses a broken shard to free her hands, swimming back to the surface. The princess survives and returns to the castle, quickly reuniting with Violet and Lin. Together, they make their way to a concealed storehouse to arm themselves for the impending conflict. Leaving Violet behind for safety, the 2 women venture outside to confront Julius's soldiers. Upon discovering Violet's capture, the princess fights her way to the hall, where Julius is coercing a priest to wed him and Violet. Just in time, Kai, now liberated, urges the guests to flee and disrupts the ceremony. Taking advantage of the chaos, the princess engages Moira in a fierce battle. Despite sustaining several blows, she ultimately overpowers her opponent by using Moira's own whip against her. With Moira defeated, the princess rushes inside to confront her most formidable adversary, Julius. They clash fiercely, each aiming to strike the other down with their swords. Julius, unscathed and confident, stabs the young royal with a dagger and tosses her into the courtyard, where a crowd has gathered. As Julius boasts of his triumph, the princess recalls Lin's counsel to strike with patience and precision. As Julius revels in his triumph, the princess quickly seizes his sword and beheads him. His head drops to the ground, and she then presents the crown back to her father. The film concludes with the king proclaiming her as the rightful heir to the throne. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a comment about your favorite movie, and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.